Tonight, when you go to sleep, your brain will do something you never notice. It will slowly disconnect you from the outside world. Your eyes will close. Your muscles will relax. Your awareness will fade. Within minutes, you will lose track of time completely. And by morning, you won't remember most of what happened during the night. But here's the strange part. Your brain never truly shuts down. Even while you're asleep, billions of neurons continue firing. Memories are processed. Emotions are sorted. Entire networks remain active beneath the surface. And in extremely rare cases, something goes wrong. Imagine falling asleep tonight, then getting out of bed, walking to your car, driving through the darkness, traveling miles across a city, entering someone's house, committing a violent act and waking up with absolutely no memory of doing any of it. No motive, no plan. Just confusion. It sounds impossible. But in 1987, a man named Kenneth Parks claimed that this is exactly what happened to him. And what makes this story so disturbing isn't the crime itself. It's what it reveals about the human brain. Because if his story was true, then one terrifying question remains: what happens when your brain is awake but your mind isn't? Kenneth Parks was 23 years old. He lived in Canada with his wife and young daughter. By all accounts, he seemed ordinary. He wasn't known as a violent person. He didn't have a criminal record. He wasn't someone people feared. But beneath the surface, his life was becoming increasingly stressful. He had developed a gambling addiction. Debt was piling up, financial pressure was growing. The kind of pressure that slowly follows you everywhere. The kind that keeps you awake at night. Ironically, sleep would soon become the center of his life. On the evening of May 24, 1987, Kenneth went to bed like he had countless times before. Driving isn't simple. It requires coordination, attention, decision-making, spatial awareness, constant adjustments. Your brain must process an enormous amount of information every second. Yet Kenneth somehow completed this journey while supposedly asleep. Eventually, he arrived at the home of his in-laws. His mother-in-law and father-in-law were inside. What happened next turned an unusual sleepwalking episode into one of the most controversial criminal cases in history. A violent attack occurred. His mother-in-law, Barbara Woods, was killed. His father-in-law, Dennis Woods, survived but suffered serious injuries. Then Kenneth left. And this is where the story becomes even stranger. Most criminals try to escape. They hide, they lie. They destroy evidence. Kenneth Parks did none of those things. Instead, he drove directly to a police station, approached officers, and reportedly said, "I think I have killed some people." As if he wasn't completely sure what had happened. As if reality itself felt distant. Police quickly noticed something unusual. Kenneth's hands were severely injured. The wounds were serious. Yet he appeared strangely unaware of the pain. Almost like someone waking from a nightmare. Investigators initially assumed the explanation was simple. A man under stress committed a violent crime. Case closed. But doctors began looking deeper. And what they found transformed the entire case. Kenneth had a history of sleepwalking. Members of his family reportedly had sleep disorders as well. Sleep specialists conducted extensive evaluations. And they proposed something extraordinary. They believed Kenneth Parks had been experiencing a severe episode of somnambulism. Sleepwalking. Most people imagine sleepwalking as someone wandering through a hallway or talking nonsense in the middle of the night. But the reality is much more complex. Sleep is not a single state. Your brain doesn't simply switch from on to off. Different regions of the brain can operate at different levels simultaneously. During certain sleep disorders, some systems remain active while others stay deeply asleep. Motor systems may function. Basic navigation may function. Habitual behaviors may function. Meanwhile, conscious awareness remains absent. Judgment remains offline. Self-reflection disappears. In other words, parts of the brain may be awake while the person is not truly conscious. This idea sounds unbelievable. Neuroscience tells a different story. Consciousness is more like an orchestra. Different systems must work together at the same time. When that coordination breaks down, unusual things can happen. Very unusual things. The courtroom battle that followed became a clash between common sense and neuroscience. Prosecutors argued that the complexity of Kenneth's actions suggested intention. After all, he drove a car. He navigated roads. He traveled a significant distance. Those actions seem impossible without awareness. But sleep experts disagreed. They explained that complex automatic behaviors can occur without conscious thought. In fact, much of what we do every day already operates automatically. Have you ever driven somewhere and barely remembered the journey afterward? Your brain is capable of performing many actions without conscious attention. Sleepwalking may represent an extreme version of that phenomenon. After hearing testimony from medical experts, the jury reached a decision. Kenneth Parks was acquitted. The court accepted that he had not been acting consciously at the time of the attack. To this day, the case remains one of the most famous sleepwalking defenses in legal history. But the legal outcome isn't the most fascinating part. The brain is. Because the Kenneth Parks case forces us to confront an uncomfortable possibility. The person you think of as you may not always be in control. Beneath your awareness, countless systems are operating every second. Managing movement, processing memories, regulating emotions, making predictions. Most of the time, these systems work together seamlessly. But occasionally they don't. And when they don't, the results can be shocking. The story of Kenneth Parks isn't just a crime story. It's a reminder that the human brain is still one of the greatest mysteries on Earth. But cases like this leave us with one final question. If the brain can sometimes act without conscious awareness, how much of what we call free will is really under our control?